Hey everyone. So, Kevin Durant, he's coming back to Game 5 of the NBA Finals. But will this be enough to get Golden State over the hump, or is it too late? Plus, how does a Warriors loss affect their legacy? You're going to find out on this and more on this episode of Jocks and Nerds. So, as I was making this video, Kevin Durant was said to be practicing and getting ready for Game 5 of the NBA Finals. But does his return make them a favorite despite being down to Series 3-1? Or is it too late for the Warriors to pull out a championship run? Well, on one hand, history tells us that the odds are not in the Warriors' favor, since only one team came back a 3-1 deficit in the finals. That was when LeBron beat those same Warriors back in 2016. However, the good news is that no other team has ever had a player come into the series down 3-1 that's a superstar with the accolades and skill set Kevin Durant has. So, it's a toss-up. I say that of all the games, this one in particular, Game 5, would be the determining factor of whether Toronto can put this team away or not. Now, yes, I know, every game matters now for Golden State, but this is the one in particular that would be the ultimate game, the deciding factor of whether they win it all or not. And let's think about why that is the case. Well, between games 5, 6, and 7, which is the one that the Warriors will be at the most injured? Game 5. Which game will Durant not have a previous game under his belt when he returns from injury? Game 5. Which game is at Toronto with all the momentum you can ask for as a Raptors fan? Game 5. Only time is on the Warriors' side here. And the longer this series drags on, the better the chances are that Golden State wins the series. That's why Toronto must put away the Warriors in Game 5, or else it may just be over for them. If the Warriors do win Game 5, Toronto has to go back to Oracle Arena with a much healthier Durant and Thompson and Andre Iguodala. And KD will have a game under his belt, making him more tuned up for Game 6. And if I had to imagine that Golden State and KD takes them to Game 7 back in Toronto, they'll have all the momentum in the series. And now what if you're a Raptors fan? Yeah, you're back at home. That's great. But you just lost everything you built into the first 4 games of the series. That's why they need Game 5. And put the dagger into the Warriors. But let's say none of that happens. Let's say Toronto wins. They won Game 5. Great. Who wins the Finals MVP? You know, a lot of analysts, the media, even you, probably would say, I don't know, maybe Kawhi Leonard? What kind of question is that? And yeah, that makes sense. But I don't want to make sense. I want to be bold. I want to provide a candidate who I think deserves it more than Leonard. And that's why I'm going to say that no, Kawhi does not get the Finals MVP. It's going to be Serge Ibaka. Yeah, that's right. I think Ibaka deserves it more than Kawhi Leonard. Why do I think that? Well, Ibaka has been a huge boost to the Raptors team. In this series, yeah, his statistics aren't great. He's averaging 9.5 points, 1 steal, 5.5 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks per game. And he's only contributing just under less than 20 minutes in those games. Yeah, not great stats. But how he made those stats is why he deserves it. Now, yeah, Game 1, he didn't really do much, and he only played 17 minutes. Kawhi Leonard also did not play that great. That was also his worst game. And he played way more minutes than Serge. But let's go into Game 2. He got 10 rebounds in 16 minutes. You know how hard that is to get 10 rebounds in 16 minutes? He practically went into the game and got every rebound possible for his team to make. Game 3, he got 6 blocks in 22 minutes. In 22 minutes, most people would be lucky to just get 1 block. And if you're center, probably 2. But he got 6. That's fantastic. And in Game 4, he got 20 points in 22 minutes. That's better than Kawhi did this whole entire series so far in points per minute. So, there's that. He also gave up no more than 2 turnovers in a game, and I believe it was game 2. He didn't give up any turnovers. So he's extremely efficient right now. He's made all but 1 free throw. Now, granted, he's only made, I think, 5 free throws in the whole game. And he's made every 3-pointer, which I think is only 2 of them, or maybe 3. But he's being extremely efficient on the floor, both offensively and defensively. You know, he's doing everything that has been asked to do. And he doesn't even get nearly as many attempts as Kawhi Leonard. Who, by the way, he's shooting 44 more shots than Ibaka. And Ibaka is shooting 50% from the field. He's shooting just as well as Kawhi Leonard, if not a little bit better. But he only has 44 less shots than Kawhi. So, you know, the points obviously are not going to be nearly as comparative when Kawhi's shooting up way more shots than Serge. But he's doing everything the Raptors are asking from him. And I think that without Serge, I don't think the Raptors would be doing as well. Could they have a 3-1 lead? Yeah, probably. They probably could. You know, I mean, the Warriors, they're just not good defensively right now. So I think that it's likely that they could get a 3-1 lead. But do I think it's actually going to happen? I think it may be 2-2 in the series without Serge. I mean, those 6 blocks in the game came at pivotal points. So I'd say 2-2, maybe 3-1. But either way, Raptors would have been struggling in all 4 of those games instead of having the cakewalks that they have been having in this series. So overall, I think the defensive presence and offensive contributions should be rewarded to Serge Ibaka. And yeah, he deserves the Finals MVP. You know, it kind of reminds me of how Andre Iguodala got the Finals MVP over Steph in 2015. You know, Curry had all the better stats than Iggy, but Iguodala put up a defensive clinic and contributed offensively to where he wasn't supposed to, just like what we're seeing in this series. So, I think the same things apply in this series as it did back in 2015, and that's why I think Serge gets it. But it's more than likely going to be Kawhi. Let's just be honest. It's probably going to be Kawhi. He's had a great postseason run altogether, and this is just the cherry on top, and I think that's why a lot of people want him to have it. And even if he gets it, I fully agree to that, but I really think that Serge deserves it more. Anyways, let's move on. You know, what has these finals games shown us about the Warriors? What have we learned from the Golden State Warriors? You know, this fantastic dynasty, the era after LeBron, potentially. What have we learned from these Warriors? And one of the things that I think is the biggest learning opportunity that these Warriors have given us is that they're way too dependent on Kevin Durant. They're way too dependent on him. Despite having a 2-time MVP in Steph Curry and having elite defenders like Clay and Draymond Green, they look flabbergasted without Kevin Durant. Oh, and by the way, they have Boogie Cousins this year, and he's one of the best centers in the game currently. Yeah, he's a little injured. They're all injured, except for Steph, but they look horrible out on the court right now. And I think a lot of that is because they rely too much on Kevin Durant. And even if they're hurt, other teams get hurt all the time, but they put it together. Why can't these Warriors do it? You know, what happened to strength in numbers? Right now, the number's just 1, and that's Kevin Durant. Well, this is what I think happened. Despite winning 2 championships, making it to a 3rd straight trip to the finals with KD on the team, I think the real fault began the moment they started playing together. back in, 2017. 3 years ago. See, what I think happened was that the Warriors wanted Kevin to be appreciated and feel like one of the guys. And by all means, he is, from a personal level, one of the guys. They all get along. Yeah, Draymond can run his mouth like he did on TV during the game. But, overall, they're all buddies. They're all perfectly fine with one another. But on the court, it's a little different. It's a little different. I'm saying that, one of the things that I've learned is that in the media, we say Warriors and Kevin Durant. We've always said Warriors and Kevin Durant. That's the problem. They're not just the Warriors. No, it's Warriors and KD. ESPN says it. Other NBA analysts say that. Everyone says it like that. That's the root problem. Instead of the Warriors appealing to KD, they should have just treated him the same and make him integrate into their system instead of the other way around. And let me explain. So, before Durant came, the Warriors were the best flowing team we've ever witnessed. They were passing, they were wide open shots, wide open dunks, fast breaks off the wazoo, and much, much more. They were just the most highly efficient team possible. I've never seen better passing in my life from any team than I did with these Warriors before Kevin Durant. We see Steph Curry. He'll just chuck up a 35-footer from the basket and just hit straight net. And he'll do it at any point in the game. Clay would be extremely refined in being a spot-up shooter. Not saying that he isn't already, but he was extremely refined as a spot-up shooter. And he'd go off for 20 or 30-plus points in a quarter, and it felt like that was a weekly thing. And Draymond, he was extremely dominant. He would just impose his will on opponents, both offensively with his passing ability and defensively with his blocking and his steals and great hands. And he'd square up with the biggest guys on the floor at all times and out-rebound them, out-block them. He's the small guy, but he's doing much better than any of the centers. And then you had the role players. There was Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Harrison Barnes, Ian Clark, Maurice Spates, James McAdoo. They all come into the game. They understand what their roles are, and they execute them for a short amount of time. That's what it was like for the Warriors before Durant. That's what it should have been after Durant signing onto the team. He should have just been another guy who is a star, but keep those fundamentals. Passing, shoot the wide open shot, make the wide open dunk, be extremely efficient. But that's not what happened. Nope. When KD came, the passing kind of stopped. Now, yeah, there's talent. There's enormous amounts of talent on the floor for the Warriors. Yeah, they still make great plays. And yeah, what they're doing is legendary. But those core fundamentals are not there anymore. If KD gets the ball, it's isolation time. There's no more passing. It's just him and his matchup. And if KD likes that matchup, he'll just take the shot. He won't pass the ball and try to create a better shot, because in his mind, whatever shot he takes is the best shot available. And, look at his skill set. Look how tall he is. Yeah. That may be true to some extent. But you know what else that does? It makes his teammates more reliable, or less reliable on, and more dependent on him. It makes these guys not put together 73 wins. and be the best regular season team to ever exist in the history of basketball. They just don't look that way anymore. And that's a shame. You know? Let's look at what they do now. Draymond, he doesn't look like he could guard someone, never alone a big man, without KD coming in to help block a shot or put some defensive pressure on that player. Steph Curry, he can't get open anymore. You know, he's this magician with the ball, but he doesn't have to dance as much often since Kevin Durant's been there. So every time he has to dance, he's not as good with the ball anymore. And Klay is kind of out of essence. I've been seeing Klay dribbling the ball more, doing more fadeaways, doing pull-up jumpers. He's not being that spot-up shooter anymore. You know, this is all a result of how they handled Durant on the court. They adjusted to him. They decided to let him make his play and feed him the ball so that his shot attempts were always there. They made sure he was getting the stats of a superstar every night and not just letting the game flow like they always have. They blocked their flow. You know, this is not Kevin's fault, though. This is not his fault. It's no one's fault. Really isn't. But if I had to put the blame somewhere on how this happened, I would say it was on the delusional fear of not pleasing Durant. It was the anxiety of not knowing if what they were doing was going to make Kevin want to leave or stay with Golden State. It's an irrational fear that they had, and it was probably in the back of their heads, although they never shown that fear. But that's what is putting these Warriors on the brink of elimination now. It's the result of that fear. It was the result of adjusting to him. And that possibly is going to tarnish their dynasty, especially if Kevin leaves. But this is all hypothetical. But let's say the Warriors and Raptors go through the situation that I described earlier, and Golden State pulls out a three-peat championship. Let's say they went the distance, they came back, and they won it all. Who gets the Finals MVP on the Warriors side? Do we give it to Kevin Durant because they won with him? He was on the floor? Or should we give it to Steph because he played all 7 games? Should we give it to Steph for playing amazingly in Game 3 despite losing and has put up great statistics throughout the whole entire series? Or do we give it to Kevin Durant just for simply that they looked horrible without him? What if KD just plays enough to get them a win, but statistically wasn't that great, or wasn't even on the floor for that long in those 3 games, games 5, 6, and 7? You could even make the argument that this may be a good time for a co-finals MVP award. But in all likelihood, in my opinion, Kevin Durant would win it if Golden State somehow miraculously wins these finals. And Steph will be ghosted again. The only way that Steph gets the Finals MVP award this year is if he puts on a performance like no other for the next 3 games while Kevin Durant's on the floor. And then he also has to put a finishing blow on the Raptors in Game 7 with the buzzer beater. I really can't imagine Steph getting the votes any other way if the Warriors pull out a victorious series. Because all of the hype is built now around Kevin Durant. And the fact that he comes back and the Warriors just put it all together and wins it all, it just spells out that they needed Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's the Finals MVP for a 3rd straight year. So, and even if Steph Curry gets an amazing performance and the buzzer beater, he may still only become a co-finals MVP with KD. Because the voters may feel like, yeah, Steph did great, but he still needed Kevin Durant on the floor to excel. But what do you think? Will Kevin Durant be enough to push the Warriors over the Raptors and the notorious 3-1 deficit? Who wins Finals MVP on each side if they were to win? Leave a comment down below to give your thoughts on the NBA Finals. If you liked this video, leave a like. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date on the latest streams and videos. Thanks for watching.